Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm going to talk about somebody that doesn't like to be known too much. This guy, he's been around for longer than any of us, and he's up to some old tricks, and we're going to talk about him a little bit today. We're going to call him Satan the Devil. Number 1, does a devil exist? Of course, millions of people think that the devil is a figment of human imagination, a non-existent being akin to hobgoblins and elves. But they're mistaken. According to the Word, the devil exists and is more active today than he ever was in the past. Let us not consider this evil spirit, for believe it or not, of all the enemies the human race has, he is absolutely the most dangerous. The devil was originally a holy archangel called Hillel, and that is a Hebrew word, 1966 according to Strong's, and it comes from the Hebrew word 1984 in the sense of brightness or the morning star. He is a being of astonishing beauty, intelligence, and power. He was one of the 2 covering cherubs which stood in the very presence of Yahweh the Creator. The devil was in Eden at the creation of the world. The devil is symbolized by a serpent who tempted our first parents to mistrust the Almighty and break His commandment. Though he has existed for 1,000 years, the devil is not immortal. His time is short. The Bible tells us the devil knows that his time is running out and that he is scheduled to be judged, found guilty, and burned in the ashes in the sight of the redeemed. The devil knows all these facts better than we do. The following biblical passages tell us about the devil. The king of Tyrus, an ancient city of Phoenicia where money was for business transactions were first used. King Cyrus was merely symbolized the devil, the arch-enemy of the human race. In Isaiah 14, in context, they're actually talking about the king of Babylon, but of course the king of Babylon has always been a prototype or stand-in for the devil. You read in Isaiah 14, verse 12, "O how you fallen from the heavens, O Hillel, son of the morning! You have been cut down to the ground, you who laid low the nations. For you have said in your heart, let me go up to the heavens. Let me raise my throne above the stars of El, and let me sit at the mount of appointment on the sides of the north. Let me go up to the heights of the clouds, let me be like the Most High. But you were brought down to Sheol, to the sides of the pit." And in Ezekiel 28, we hear the prophecy against the prince of Tyre. "And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, say to the prince of Zoar, Thus says the Master Yahweh, because your heart is lifted up, and you say, I am El. I sit in the seat of Elohim in the heart of the seas, whereas you are a man and not El, though you set your heart as the heart of Elohim. Look, are you wiser than Daniel? Has no secret been hidden from you? By your wisdom and your understanding you have made riches for yourself and gathered gold and silver into your treasuries. For by your great wisdom, by your trade, you have increased your riches, and your hearts lifted up because of your riches. Therefore, says the Master Yahweh, because you have set your heart as the heart of Elohim, therefore see I bring against you strangers, the ruthless ones of the nation. And they shall draw their swords against the loveliness of your wisdom, and they shall profane your splendor. Down into the pit they shall bring you, and you shall die in the death of the slain in the heart of the seas. Would you still say before him who slays you, I am Elohim, whereas you are a man and not El, in the hand of him who kills you? The death of the uncircumcised you shall die by the hand of foreigners. For I have spoken, declares the Master Yahweh. A lament over the king of Tyre. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation for the sovereign of Seir, and you shall say to him, Thus says the Master Yahweh, you are sealing up a pattern complete in wisdom and perfect in loveliness. You were in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering, the ruby, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the shoham, and the jasper, the sapphire, turquoise, and emerald, and gold. The workmanship of your settings and the mountings was prepared for you on the day you were created. You were anointed cherub that covered, and I have placed you were on the set-apart mountain of Elohim. You walked up and down in the midst of stones of fire. You are perfect in all your ways from the day you were created until righteousness was found in you. By the greatness of your trade you became filled with violence within, and you sinned, so I thrust you from the mountain of Elohim, and I destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your loveliness. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I threw you to the earth. I laid you before sovereigns to look at you. You profaned your set-apart places by your many crookedness, by the unrighteousness of your trading. Therefore I brought forth fire from your midst. It has devoured you, and I turned your ashes upon the earth before the eyes of all who see you. All who knew you among the peoples were astonished at you. Wasted shall you be, and cease to be forever. In the scriptures, the devil is symbolically described as that old serpent, the fiery serpent, and the dragon. Nothing pleases the devil more than for us humans to deceive ourselves into believing he doesn't exist. Satan is thrown down to earth. In Revelation 12:7, and there came to be fighting in the heaven. Michael and his messengers fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his messengers fought. But they were not strong enough, nor was a place found for them in the heaven any longer. And the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who leads all the world astray. He was thrown down to the earth, and his messengers were thrown out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in the heavens, Now have come in the deliverance and the power and the reign of Elohim and the authority of his Messiah, for the accusers of our brothers who accused them before Elohim day and night has been thrown down. And it's kind of strange too, because the devil likes to get people to sin, and once he's doing, he's all jumping down and saying, look what he's done, look what she's done. But they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb. That's our out. And because of the word of their witness, and they did not love their lives to the death. Because of this rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing he has little time. What did the devil do? Well, we talk about his first sin. The devil's first sin. The devil's sins are legion, but his first sin was pride. In Ezekiel 28:17, we read of the devil's pride because of his extremely good looks and his brilliant mind. The Almighty said of him, Your heart was lifted up because of your loveliness. You corrupt your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I threw you to earth. I laid you before sovereigns to look at. Yes, the devil is a handsome and clever person. Some individuals put out mental pictures about an ugly demon with a goatee beard, cloven feet, and a pitchfork. That's not the devil. The devil is extremely good looking, and this makes him all the more dangerous. The devil's main tool for gaining power over the others is merchandising and trade. He was the very first one to conceive of the idea of trade and its underlying profit motive. As we all know, money is the mainspring of modern business, but the love of money, which is the root of all evil, which is found in 1 Timothy 6:10. One may go even further down and say it is the love of what money can buy: possessions, positions, power, fame, enjoyment, adulation, etc. These are the things that are behind the love for money. The devil uses the power of merchandise to obtain his ends. He offered bribes so all would join him in his rebellion against Yahweh. He even tried to bribe Yeshua. But praise Yahweh, Yeshua wasn't selling. In Isaiah 14, how you have fallen from the heavens, O Hillel, son of the morning. You have been cut down to the ground, you who laid low the nations. And there's a footnote, he's called the Shining One. For you have said in your heart, let me go up to the heavens, let me raise my thrones above the stars of hell, and let me sit in the mountain of appointment on the sides of the earth. Let me go up to the heights of the clouds, let me be like the Most High. And Ezekiel 28:16, by the greatness of your trade you became filled with violence within, you sinned. So I thrust you from the mountain Elohim, I destroyed you, O covering care from the midst of stones of fire. To his cardinal sin of pride, the devil has added sins beyond number. Greed for money, and all that money brings, even to this day. The root cause of the world's ills. The Bible speaks out strong against all who trample on the poor in their mad rush to gain wealth. And that's a warning to the rich in James 5:1. Come now, rich ones, reap, crying aloud for the hardships coming upon you. Your riches have rotten, and your garments have become moth-eating. Your gold and silver has become rusty, and their rust shall be a witness against you, and you shall eat flesh like fire. You have laid up treasures in the last day. See the wages of the workmen who mowed your fields, which you kept by, cry out. And the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of Yahweh of hosts. You have lived on the earth in pleasure with luxury, and you have fattened your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned, you have murdered the righteous. He does not resist you. We find that in today's world, out where people are, we find out that people are being crushed. The poor are being crushed in this world. It's the devil's obsession. The devil is totally obsessed with his hatred for the Almighty and all things set apart and good. He never tires of trying to get others to join him in his rebellion against the authority of the Almighty El of Israel. Consequently, every commandment Yahweh ever issued has become a target for the devil's attack, and every obedient believer, especially if he claims affinity with Israel, becomes a potential enemy. Here are some activities in which the devil delights. He loves to lead people into sin. Sin is disobedience to the Almighty's commandments. It is spiritual rebellion against divine authority. The devil was the first sinner, and one of his goals is to get many people as possible to join him in his sins, in his rebellion against the Almighty. In 1 John 3:8 we read, the one doing sin is of the devil, because the devil has sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Elohim was manifested, to destroy the works of the devil. And as a footnote to see Titus chapter 2 verse 14. He vexes people. The devil delights in the misery of others. He delights in our misery. Anytime we're miserable, he loves it. The more he can vex them, the greater is his pleasure. His spirit is against every peace process. He is miserable when the people are happy. It is not possible to understand the full extent of the devil's sick mentality and his addiction and delight in the woes of mankind. In Matthew 15:21 we read, "And Yeshua went out from there and withdrew to the parts of Sor and Sidon. And see, a woman of Canaan came from those borders and cried out to him, saying, Have compassion on me, O Master, son of David. My daughter is badly demon-possessed." To take possession of people's minds. The devil seeks to take over minds like a squatter would take over an unoccupied house. His first approach is to tempt, to seduce, to control, and finally to possess. Once the devil is in possession of the human mind, it is difficult to get him out. Believe me, I understand this more than anybody. Only Yahweh's power can do that, get the devil out of your mind. One of the first things the Savior did when he came to earth was rid people of devil possession. Instances of this may be found in Matthew 4:24, 8:16, 10:8, Mark 1, verse 32, and Mark 5, verse 15, Mark 16:9. Another thing we can attribute to the devil is he is the father of falsehood. The devil is the father of falsehood. He hates the truth and will ever seek to destroy it. The devil's spirit motivates all enemies of truth, who are usually unaware of the source of their motivation. In John 8:44, "You are the father, the devil, and the desires of your father you wish to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and has not stood in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." His goal is to destroy. His obsession is to destroy us, is to destroy believers. His targets, Yahweh's followers, especially those who keep the Almighty's commandment. The devil knows their potential for good better than they do. He's good with the Bible. He understands the Scripture better than we could ever hope to right now in our state. He knows our weaknesses and how best to tempt us. Every time one of us or any person sins, breaks Yahweh's commandment, the devil is rejoicing. His own unholy glee knows no bounds when true believers succumb to his temptation. In 1 Peter 5:8 it says, "Be sober, watch, because your adversary the devil walks among like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour." In Revelations 12:17, "And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed, those guarding the commands of Yahweh and possessing the witness of Yeshua Messiah." They're doing both. Guarding Yahweh's commandments, keeping his law, and keeping the testimony and witness of what his Son did for us. And the devil is a specialist. He has a specialty. Although he is infinitely less powerful than the Creator, the devil nonetheless rules over a large spiritual empire. Its capital city is Babylon the Great, an evil metropolis on high from which he directs his rebellion against Yahweh's capital, Jerusalem the Golden. In Scripture, the devil is called a prince of this world, and that's found in John 14:30 and 16:11. He became the temporary ruler of this earth when our first parents believed his lies in Eden. They lost their authority to manage earth, its creatures, and the devil took over. Prince of the power of the air. In John 14:30 we find, I shall no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming, and he possesses none at all in me. In John 16:11, concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. With his ill-gotten gains, the devil will do business with anyone who will bow the knee to him. He will offer money, property, authority, power, ecstasy, anything, if you'll only acknowledge his authority and worship him. Here's the egotistical pride at its very worst. It's the devil's terminal illness, a mental AIDS for which he seeks no cure. The devil is humanity. All of us are number one foe. It doesn't matter what religion we are, what race, what sex, creed, what country we come from. We're all part of mankind, and the devil is our enemy. It is with such an enemy that we believers wrestle. In Matthew 4:8, again, the devil took him up on a very high mountain and showed him all the reigns of the world and their esteem. And he said to him, all these I shall give to you if you will fall down and worship me. Then Yeshua said to him, get out here, Satan, for it has been written, you shall worship Yahweh your Elohim, and him alone you shall serve. In Luke 4:6, the devil said to him, all this authority I shall give you, and their esteem, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whoever I wish. The devil had every bit of authority to try to bribe Yeshua, because he owned the world. He had every power to give Yeshua exactly what he promised him, because he is the king, the power, prince of this earth right now. And in Ephesians 6:10, it says, for the rest, my brothers, be strong in the master and the mightiness of his strength. Put on the complete armor of Elohim, for you have power to stand against the schemes of the devil. And it's because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. Devil's got a lot of power, but one thing about it is he's definitely not invincible. I am glad to report that the devil is not invincible. Through a being of enormous experience and power, the devil is not omnipotent. He can be defeated. To be sure, he has great power, ability, cunning, and skill. But the devil is not invincible. He can be overcome. Moreover, only he can do what Yahweh allows him to do. In other words, the devil is still under the supreme authority of Yahweh, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. As Yeshua said to Pilate, the Roman governor, in John 19:11, Yeshua answered, you would possess no authority against me if it were not given to you from above. Because of this, he who delivered me to you has greater sin. Believers will only overcome the devil if they equip themselves with the whole armor of Yahweh. We are fighting a spiritual battle against spiritual enemies, and only spiritual weapons will be of any good. Secular education, better housing conditions, full employment, well-meaning political parties are not enough in the fight against sin and its myriad effects. We need the full armor of Elohim. Nothing else will do. What is the whole armor of Yahweh? In Ephesians 6:10, for the rest, my brothers, be strong in the master and the mightiness of his strength. Put on the complete armor of Elohim, for you have power to stand against the schemes of the devil. Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the dark of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. Because of this, take up the complete armor of Elohim, so that you have power to withstand in the wicked day, and having done all, to stand. Stand then, having girded your waist with truth, in Isaiah 11:5, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, Isaiah 59:17, and having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news of peace, Isaiah 52:7. Above all, having taken up the shield of belief, which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one. Take also the helmet of deliverance, Isaiah 59:17, and the word of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim. Praying at all times with prayer and supplication in the Spirit, watching all perseverance and supplication for all the set-apart ones. Remember, you have 7 pieces of equipment. All and each one of them are vital. You have the scriptures, the sword of the Spirit. And you don't be satisfied with the imperfect counterfeit sword. Obtain and use the real word of Yahweh. Truth. Loins girt about with the truth. Faith. Above all, take the shield of faith. Salvation. It's the helmet of salvation. Obedience is the breastplate of righteousness. Peace. Feet shod with the gospel of peace. Praying. Praying always with all supplications. Will the end-time congregation overcome the devil? The answer is, good news. Yes, we will. We will overcome the devil by the life-giving power of the blood of Yeshua, the Messiah, in our personal testimony. We shall overcome the devil, even if many of us are martyred in the process. In Revelations 12:10, and I heard a loud voice saying in the heavens, now have come the deliverance and the power and the reign of our Elohim, and the authority of his Messiah, for the accuser of our brothers, who accused them before Elohim day and night, have been thrown down. In Revelations 12:11, they overcame them because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of the witness, and they did not love their lives to the death. In other words, all they can do to us is kill us as long as we remain in the faith. We may scream well for a moment, but we're going to be shouting for joy when we see our Yeshua and see that we have finally triumphed. That's going to be a good feeling for all of us who do make it. Apostle James advises, James 4:7. So then, subject yourselves to Elohim. Resist the devil, and he shall flee from you. If a believer follows the path outlined above, she will overcome the devil and his angels. And the good part is we're going to see the devil's destination. The devil is not immortal. No persistent sinner is. The devil and his followers will come to an end after the great day of judgment. The devil's capture, his imprisonment in the bottomless pit, his temporary release from the pit, and his eternal death in the lake of fire is described in Scripture in great detail. Very briefly, here's the sequence of events. The devil's imprisonment. At the return of Master Yeshua Messiah to this earth, the devil will be imprisoned in the bottomless pit, an angel penitentiary which currently houses many evil spirits. He will remain in the pit for the duration of the millennium, Yeshua's 1,000 years reign on peace on earth. For the devil's punishment, when released at the end of the millennium, the devil will once go about and seduce Earth's population. He can't help it. He's got that pride. He's going to go for it. He will convince them that under his leadership they are able to overcome the saints and take over the restored earth. But Yahweh is not going to let that happen. We can read about the defeat of Satan in Revelation 27. And when the 1,000 years have ended, Satan shall be released from his prison. And he shall go out and lead the nations astray which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for the battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea. And they came up over the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the set-apart ones and the beloved city. And fire came down from Elohim out of heaven and consumed them. And the devil who led them astray was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet are. And they shall be tortured day and night forever and ever. And we read about the devil's death. Will the devil live forever and ever? No. The devil is not immortal. He is subject to death. He will die. He will be burned to ashes. The term forever in the above verse means as long as possible. The evil city of Sodom was burned to ashes in the eternal fire. We can find that in Jude 1:7. That is, Sodom burned as long as there was something to burn. But once everything combustible is reduced to ashes, the eternal fires of Sodom went out. And let me tell you, it was a hot fire. In year 2000, we had archaeologists in the congregation come from Sodom, bringing us little pieces of brimstone. And it's basically a little block of sulfur with a patina. He took a piece of that. He set up a little piece of concrete slab right out back at the conference center where we were having feast. And this was a cold day, too. He put a little piece of that on, and he fired it. It burned with a purple flame, a little piece about that big. I was standing a couple of meters away, and it was cold weather. But when that was burning with that purple flame, I broke out in the sweat. It was hot, just that little piece. And the piece of concrete that was used had a hole burned in it about that deep from that little ball of sulfur. Sodom burned as long as possible. The whole area there is completely full of ash. Do you have any idea how high of a temperature it takes to turn concrete into ash? I don't know. I probably knew it one time, but all I can say is pretty darn hot. Yeah, Sodom's fire finally went out. But it will be the same with the devil. He was burned as long as it was possible for him to burn. He will be punished in flames for all of his monstrous crimes. He will be burned to ashes. The devil's punishment will match his evil. His punishment will fit the millions of crimes he committed. Unimaginably severe it will be. Here is the forecast of the devil's death. In Ezekiel 28:18, you have profaned your set-apart places by your many crookedness, by the unrighteousness of your trading. Therefore I brought fire from your midst. It has devoured you, and I have turned you to ashes upon the earth before all the eyes who see you. All who knew you amongst the people were astonished at you. Waste you shall be, and cease to be, forever. No pen can describe the enormity of the devil's guilt, the severity of Yahweh's verdict on him, the ferocity of the fire that will overcome the devil, and the totality of his annihilation. But it will happen nonetheless. Only Yahweh hath immortality. 1 Timothy 6, verse 16. So we are to fight the good fight of the faith. Timothy 6:16, who alone has immortality, dwelling in the unapproachable light, whom no one has seen or is able to see, to whom be respect and everlasting might. Amen. And we can summarize all this. The devil exists. He's an extremely powerful, demoted archangel, the archenemy of Yahweh. his followers, and truth. The devil's first and greatest sin was pride. Pride of his beautiful appearance and his brilliant mind. This monstrous pride and love of self motivates the devil in his futile attempts to dethrone Yahweh. The devil will give anything to gain the worship of others. The devil is obsessed with evil. He delights in the misery of others. It is his entertainment. The devil's main weapon is winning others is the love of money and what money can buy, possessions, power, pleasures, and adulation. We also know that the devil is not invincible. He can be overcome, but only with following the spiritual weapons provided by Yahweh, the Almighty of Elohim of Israel. These are truth, the Holy Scriptures, faith in Yahweh's Son, Yeshua the Messiah, and his sacrifice in Golgotha. We have the helmet, the right mind guard of salvation, and obedience to the commandments of Yahweh, the gospel of peace and prayer. Lastly, we know that the devil is not immortal. His time is short and will soon end. He is scheduled to be consigned in the abyss for 1,000 years, after which he will be judged and burned in ashes in the presence of the multitudes he has deceived. Then he will be no more. And I add another final summary, or just a little suggestion. When the devil reminds you of your past, or me of my past, we'd simply have to do one thing. Remind him of his future. Hallelujah.